Last week, we experienced some of the wonders of Isla. This week, we leave spectacular Isla, the Port Charlotte hostel, excellent pub, and plentiful whiskey, and go to Arran, which was just as good, but tougher to get to and away from. The day that we left Isla wasn't a long cycling day, mostly because it was in two parts with a 3:30 ferry in the middle. We left the Port Charlotte hostel late in the morning, passed through Bridgend, and stopped in Ballygrant at the bakery, where Carol had a scone so good she had to ask for the recipe. The ferry was not due in for a couple of hours, so Jeff and Carol headed for the dock, and I added a side trip to Ardnahoe for another distillery visit. The road was a little lumpy, but I made it there and back just fine, thanks to the good fuel that I found at Ardnahoe. The 2-hour ferry ride from Isla to Kinnicraig was grand. And since we got in kind of late, the bike ride in the fading light from Kinnicraig to Tarbert was fast. The dinner that we had at the hotel was so delicious that we came back for breakfast the next morning. Once more, today we had 2 routes, separated by a boat trip. The routes were not long, but each had a big lump in them, so they looked like a snake that had just eaten a rat. Climbing the first lump was hard work, but descending it was fun. It was chilly waiting by the sea for the ferry, but soon it came in, ran itself up onto the shore, dropped its ramp, and allowed us to scurry aboard with our bikes. In about half an hour, we were on Arran, where the ferry ran itself ashore, dropped the ramp, and we scurried off. It was lunchtime, and we had missed second breakfast, so we decided to forego the castle ruins and went instead for the distillery. Since it was Saturday, however, they were very busy and would not be able to seat us for an hour, so we headed instead towards Corrie. But remember that lump? Well, it now stood between us and lunch.
Hiya! Hiya!
We were all pretty hungry by the time we got over the hump, and were happy to get some lunch when we got to the Corrie Inn, before checking into our rooms. Of course, I still wanted to explore the ancestral homeland, so I went down to Braddock and searched for anything Hendry. This was all I found.
Oh, there we go. And there's something Hendry here.
It was a short road that had 4 homes and an assisted living care facility. That was about right. I also saw on Google Maps that there was a museum for the island. It was in Braddock, so I went there, but it had closed early. So I went to Braddock Castle. The lady in the entry booth in the parking lot said that it was closing in half an hour, but since I was on a bicycle, I could go ahead and look around for free. The castle itself was only somewhat interesting, but the grounds surrounding the castle were very nice. I took the long way out, which had about a half a mile of these beautiful manicured hedges. The hedges eventually ended at the main road, and I turned north back toward the Corrie Inn. I don't know if I had really learned much about my Arran ancestor, but I had definitely worked up an appetite for dinner that night, which again was fabulous. Oh, wait a minute. Let's look at that again. Yeah, let's take a better look at those numbers. 45 miles, yeah. 4,500 feet. Ow. So today we had to do this, which we had just done the day before, to get us to the ferry. And then after the ferry, again, we did this. That just gets us back to Tarbert, where we catch a ferry that takes us across the Firth to, oh boy. We started early the next morning, leaving the quarry Inn without any breakfast or any coffee. We didn't have first breakfast, and we certainly didn't have second breakfast.
Make sure and catch the sweat dripping off my face.
I'd have to zoom in.
So far, so good.
A good rule of thumb is that if a route has 100 feet of climbing for every mile, it is technically tough. 45 miles with 4,500 feet met that. Today would be tough. Thankfully, we found coffee and a pastry next to the ferry dock, so we were fortified by the time the boat came in. "30 minutes later, we felt good as we started the second leg of the day. Carol got a flat at the top. It was the only flat that we had on the entire trip. Of course, we soon had it sorted. Flat fixed, we rode fast and just caught the boat from Tarbert to Porter Body.
Well, I saw you right past.
It was a gorgeous Sunday, with plenty of sailboats out in the light winds. Soon, we were in Porter Body. Right off the boat, we were climbing. Mostly the roads were quiet, although there were a lot of faster cyclists out.
Car back.
We paused at the tops to enjoy the views and regrouped at every turn if we got separated. Traffic picked up some later, with people heading back home from their weekend away. So we were pretty damn tired when we finally got to Sandbank and the wonderful Clydeview B&B. Next week, Glasgow and Edinburgh. See you then.